This is the After Party, live. Pick a couch, grab a drink, and settle into the conversation.
After Party live on a Hide in Your Cave Monday. I made it. Woohoo! Apologies for the delay. Everything's okay now. Ooh, sometimes in between shows, it's a little rough. All right. Thank you for being here. And I know I don't have a lot of time to get to all these stories. So let's jump right in and go for it. Just want to say, so glad Marcus is back, and so great to be back soon. But it's great to have Mark's take on everything and have him back in the saddle. Let us mosey on over to some of the stories that I have prepared for you, and some of them, as often they do, involve animals. In addition to the whale story that I mentioned and the wolf story that I mentioned, comes this story, and I don't know if you happen to see the video of this seal who's trying desperately to escape killer whales or orcas and jumps onto the boat carrying a nature photographer. The video is amazing. So let's get to that, because the story, we'll talk about it, but the story really is in the video of this poor seal trying to there's the orcas, you can see them. Charvet Drucker is the nature and wildlife photographer.
The seal.
How long it leaves.
Oh my god.
There's the seal.
Oh, you poor thing.
Yeah.
I am shaking right now.
And here comes the
He is
seal.
on. He is not trying to get on.
Trying to get
He is
away.
on our boat. You're good. Just stay, buddy.
No. Oh no. It's okay though. The seal comes back.
Is he still on?
He is still on.
They say the way the orcas are behaving, the tail slaps they are hunting. Trying to rock the boat, trying to make the seal fall off. They knew right where that seal was, those orcas.
No, stay on, come back.
Oh, he's directly beneath the engine.
Come on, get back on. Come on, get back on, come on.
Is he on?
Oh, no, come on, get back on.
They're rooting for the seal.
He's back on.
He keeps jumping off and jumping back on the boat to get away from these orcas. And those whales didn't give up right away. There he is, catching a little ride.
All right, bye, buddy.
Finally. Yeah, and so what a great video telling the story of this little seal who found some human help in evading becoming a meal. There is another story that I wanted to talk about. These ginkgo-tooth-beaked whales. We know that they exist because we've seen them wash up dead on beaches. As humans, we found their remains. But what we have never seen is a live ginkgo whale. Never seen it until now. These whales were seen off the coast of Mexico. Researchers say they've been looking at them for about 5 years, and finally got really lucky when it came to spotting one alive, first time in the wild. So super exciting. And researchers say at first they weren't sure. They had to unfortunately test it to make sure that it was what they thought it was. So they fired a harpoon that took just a little teeny tiny skin sample, the size of an eraser, so that they could test it. Here's a picture of this ginkgo whale. Welcome aboard. They were spotted early in the morning of June, one morning of June of 2024, along the coast of Baja. And scientists were aboard this boat, this research vessel. They say they were just finishing up the morning coffee and preparing for the long day of searching for these ginkgo whales when suddenly someone said, "There's one on the side on the starboard bridge." And they ran over. A couple of juvenile beaked whales kept surfacing and disappearing until finally they managed to get this skin sample off of the back of one of them, a small chunk, again, the size of a pencil eraser. And that is what would later prove to the scientists on board that they were seeing this species that had never been seen in the wild. It is a ginkgo-toothed beaked whale. That is the full name of it. Ginkgo-toothed beaked whale. The researchers said they can't even describe the feeling because it was something they'd worked toward for so long. They've published a paper in the Marine Mammal Science journal. They said everybody on the boat was cheering because they finally had this whale that they could see. They had returned to the same spot for 3 years, first on a sailboat, then on a chartered Mexican fishing boat, and then they teamed up with Oregon State University to use the research vessel there. And the ship towed hydrophones listening to underwater sounds, and that had an observation deck with a high-powered binoculars that were capable of spotting the whales from pretty far away. Those tools turned out to be what made the difference. These animals are the deepest diving mammals on Earth. They spend most of their lives deep in the sea, only coming up for air a few minutes at a time, usually very far away from coastlines. They're very shy. They're easily frightened when approached by boats. And many species have only been described based on their dead animals washing ashore. So new species are still being discovered as recently as 2021. The Society for Marine Mammalogy has a list of 94 accepted species of cetaceans. They say a quarter of them are beaked whales, but most people have never even heard of them. The largest, least known animals left on this planet. These animals are especially sensitive to military sonar that interferes with their foraging, causing them to ascend too fast, which can cause them fatal injuries, kind of like the bends. These whales, because we know they live so far deep in the sea, they say it could mitigate the potential harm of sonar by avoiding military training in the areas that we know are their habitats. So they say before the crew that spotted this whale could scoop the arrow from the surface of the water, an albatross swept in and started to peck at that piece of skin. Some people were throwing bread rolls from breakfast to get that albatross to fly away. They said it was really stressful. Now that they think back about it, it's funny, but it almost absconded with the evidence. They say, though, that finding these ginkgo-toothed beak whales near Mexico is a big surprise because we know from the places they've been found stranded or beached that that happened on the other side of the Pacific Ocean on the shores of Japan. So they're interested in doing some more research on this. They found these animals probably lived off the shores of California and northern Baja. There were two strandings on the west coast of North America previously, but they'd always been assumed to be kind of one-offs, animals that maybe got sick and washed ashore. But now we know that's not true and that they actually occupy these waters year-round. They say there are many more beaked whale calls out there without a known source, several species with no known call, and no sightings at sea. So researchers say over the last few years, they've been trying to match the whale calls to the species, trying to build a map of distribution of the animals from the acoustic data, which they say is the only way to track down this very shy species. It's kind of exciting to see this animal alive for the first time. Another story for you, and this one is about Turon in Yellowstone. We've seen it before, of course. Turon, slurming together of the words tourist and moron, right? If you learned anything from this show, You know that is the case. This guy was in Yellowstone. I want to say Yosemite, Yellowstone, and decided to get up close and personal with a pack of wolves. Yeah, maybe not the best and brightest situation. Definitely not safe for the wolves and not safe for the human. But here he is, sees these wolves coming down a hill on a pathway. Here's the picture. You can see this guy walking straight toward the pack of wolves. So frustrating. There was a bunch of people watching this happen too. On the morning of October 6th, there were at least 5 black wolves in this pack, and they were roaming near some sagebrush. And then, through their binoculars, the crowd sees this man starting to walk toward the wolves, got within 50 feet or so of them. The whole thing is posted on Facebook in this page that talks about bad behavior at Yellowstone National Park. The page is called Yellowstone National Park Invasion of the Idiots. So there you have it. This guy that got the best footage of this said he was passing through the park on a trip, started filming as the wolves bounded toward this man. He was wearing this long white scarf that was flapping around his neck as he turned back to face the approaching wolves. And the wolf in the lead picked up speed as it ran down this dirt trail right toward this guy. And someone said, this could end very badly for this guy. Other ones, people said, yeah, you think? So the guy starts waving his arms and walking toward the wolf pack. A wolf appeared to bark at him. Then there's a lady in the background yelling, "Hey, get the hell away from them." And people in the crowd start yelling at this guy, "Back up. What are you doing?" Finally, when he's confronted with all 5 wolves coming toward him at a pretty brisk clip, the guy appears to pepper spray the lead wolf. But that doesn't help. The wolves still keep coming. And then everything goes out of sight. The man and the wolves entered a small ravine that wasn't visible to the wolf watchers. Someone in the video calls the guy a knucklehead. And it ends with the wolves going back in the direction from whence they came. The man starts walking out of the frame. There were no rangers here. Of course, this is during the shutdown, right? Yeah. So far, the national park has not commented on this incident. They say while a pack of wolves can look intimidating, this man was likely in little to no danger because wolves, they say, rarely attack humans. Hey, that's not what we see in the movies. The last confirmed fatal wolf attack in the United States happened in March of 2010 in a remote area of Alaska where one person died. So the October 6th incident, according to a Yellowstone wildlife guide that talked to SF Gate, said the wolves were pups born earlier in the year and they were probably just curious. It was probably their first ever interaction with a human. But as for the Turon, he was violating park rules intended to keep both visitors and wildlife safe. We have talked about this before. According to park regulations, visitors should never approach wildlife and they need to stay at least 100 yards away from wolves and other predators, bears, cougars. If an animal moves closer to you, you back away to maintain the safe distance, according to a Yellowstone website. It is illegal to willfully remain near or approach wildlife, including birds, within any distance that disturbs or displaces this animal. They say if you're in Yellowstone and you accidentally stumble across a wolf, they say stand your ground, wave your arms, and yell, throw something. Using bear spray should be a last resort, and then all incidents should be reported to a ranger as soon as possible. I don't think this guy was trying to report it to a ranger. Yeah, I don't know. But look at him walking toward the wolves. Like, who does that? Somebody who has no respect for the wildlife? Wants to go pet the doggy? I'm going to the chat. I know, it's a surprising story. Rule of nature has to be obeyed. Yeah, if we see it in the movies, it must be true, right? They didn't like fire pepper flavored human. Apparently not. Rev P says, yeah, the wolves had more sense than the human in this case. Mindy says he got lucky. I think so too. Idiot sounds about right, says Mindy Lee. Idiots with a master's degree, says Yvonne. Another idiot trying to win a Darwin Award, says Nullifidian. Come on. Yeah. Wolves are saying yummy dinner, says Phineas. Must be MAGA guy dances with wolves. I know we don't get political, my apologies, but yeah, the picture is just shocking in and of itself. I have not seen the video of this whole scenario. I'm sure it's even worse than the picture, but the story, oh my goodness. Just I mean, I don't even know. And is he by himself? Like, where's his family? Who are the people with him? That's what I want to know. Who is, you know, who is the person encouraging this guy to go do this? Did you hear about this chimp that escaped at the zoo? Never really left the zoo, just decided to take a little walk around, visit with the people, hang out, do what chimps do. This happened at a zoo in, I believe, Indianapolis. Yeah. This chimp, I have a picture of this chimpy eating pumpkins. This chimp just got tired of being in the enclosure for a few minutes. And so decided that she was going to bust free. Happened on Friday. People that were at the Indianapolis Zoo were asked to shelter in place when this chimp got loose from its enclosure and had a little adventure around the park. This female chimp left the enclosure about 10 a.m. Friday and was free in the park for at least an hour and 42 minutes. Park officials issued a guest lockdown. The Indianapolis Fire Department were called in to assist just in case. The chimp's name is Mara. Never left the zoo grounds. The zoo officials said they managed to corner and sedate her before returning her to her enclosure with no injuries to either Mara or the guests or the staff at the zoo. There were a couple of school field trips to the zoo that day, though. Groups of 2nd, 7th, and 8th graders were on a tour, but they had to delay their trip until the chimp was caught. They say the zoo guests were safe at all times. No injuries. Everybody's okay. The zoo's security and animal care and vet teams trained for these types of scenarios, and it all went down textbook. They say the zoo is open as normal, but yeah, Mara wasn't recaptured until 11:42, so an hour and 42 minutes on the lam. She was just kind of checking out the zoo, walking around, looking at the other animals, seeing what's what. It happens. Have you heard about this new line of Cheetos and Doritos? Now that we have a new mandate to forgo dyes and artificial flavors and all of these things, all these processed food companies are going, uh-oh, I guess it's time to change things up, right? I don't know if it's going to make them taste different, and maybe the people that love the Doritos won't love the new version, but there's a new line of Cheetos and Doritos that are foregoing dyes and artificial flavors. So no more bright orange fingers. These brands owned by PepsiCo say they will begin selling new versions. The line is called Simply NKD, and they will be for sale starting December 1st. There's 4 products: Doritos Simply NKD Cool Ranch, Cheetos Simply NKD Puffs, Cheetos Simply NKD Flamin' Hot, and Doritos Simply NKD Nacho Cheese. According to Pepsi, the snacks will offer the same taste people expect, but without the synthetic dyes. Well, why haven't you been doing that all along, you big dummies? The company says we're reinventing our iconic, most famous brands to deliver options with the bold flavors fans know and love, now reimagined without any colors or artificial flavors. The NKD snacks aren't replacing the classic versions, they're just in addition to. So I guess if you really wanted it orange, if you wanted the chemicals, you could still get the chemicals. Many existing versions of these chips have yellow number 5, yellow number 6, red number 40, blue number 1 to make the food look bright, I guess, and attractive, right? There are some states, West Virginia, interestingly, among them, who have banned some of these dyes already. Major companies are promising to remove them, some. The concerns around these artificial dyes include a link to increased consumption of unhealthy food and possible behavioral changes in some children as hyperactivity, inattention, or sleep problems. Some experts say the dyes are just one piece of the puzzle and they're a lot less harmful than other ingredients that are in this type of processed food. The health risks, they say, pale in comparison with the health risks of the added salt, sugar, and fat in the processed food. So maybe the dyes are the tip of the iceberg in this, but that's okay. We're getting, I don't know if they're going to be the same color. Are they going to be clear? We're getting altered Cheetos and Doritos. Which one do you buy if you're throwing a party and you wanted a bowl of chips? Do you buy the NKDs or you buy the originals? And if it looks a little funny, are they gonna say, what the heck is this? Or maybe you're not buying any of it. I don't know. I saw this story and thought it was so interesting. This virtual museum that features a lot of art, not in person, but art that has been absconded with that we might not be able to see in person, but it's still remembered at this virtual museum. And it is pretty cool looking. Here's a rendering of what it will look like. Kind of like walk up and up and up and up and round and round and round. This is the UNESCO Museum for Stolen Artifacts. This is the design. On display at this museum will be 600 artifacts that have been stolen or that have just disappeared. They're going to create it in an earthy color palette. This virtual museum created to raise awareness of the illicit trafficking of cultural property worldwide with items sourced from a database by the International Criminal Police Organization, or Interpol. The design of this museum is meant to convey the impact of lost heritage on communities. So again, it's from the UN, the UNESCO Virtual Museum of Stolen Cultural Objects. The objects are not just art to be displayed. In many cases, they have very practical functions. They're tools of communication, or they hold communities together in some kind of spiritual way. And the designer here says, by raising awareness of this, we can understand how these losses affect all of us globally. Repatriation and restitution can deepen our understanding of different cultures. So it's interesting, this place. The design based on a baobab tree and its roots, the unseen roots, intending to reflect the importance of art and artifacts to societies. He said a tree has roots, a trunk, and a crown. We see the trunk and crown, but the roots remain hidden, and they provide stability and nourishment. That cultural heritage, both tangible and intangible, forms the essence of communities, and these are the roots. Removing these roots deprives communities of foundation for growth, well-being, and happiness. So, it's interesting, this virtual museum. You can find it online. Again, it's the UNESCO Virtual Museum of Stolen Cultural Objects. And it's pretty cool. You can find it at museum.unesco.org. And there's so many things to see. It takes a while to load because you're looking at 600 different objects, but it's still pretty cool. It is time for the lotto of the day. There's this guy who bought a lottery ticket. Not this kind of, I think it was a Mega Millions or some such. He's in Maryland and he's a dedicated player of the bonus match 5. The one time he doesn't buy a ticket, he sees the numbers come up. So he says, I gotta be more vigilant about this. He said he's a devoted player of the bonus match 5. And a few years ago, he failed to buy a ticket for a single drawing and he saw the numbers he would have selected come up. He said this whole thing renewed his determination to win the drawing. And he finally hit it big with a ticket that he bought for the October 30th drawing at King's View Beer and Wine in Germantown. He walks away with $50,000. He said he also won $400 earlier this year playing the same game. He's going to put his prize money, his 50 grand, into an interest-bearing account in preparation for a planned trip to Italy with his wife in 2028. He's a planner. We like that. Here's another lottery story. This couple, I'm telling you, some people have all the luck. Another double winner. In this case, we go to New Jersey. There's a picture of them, kind of hiding behind their big fat check. The folks here in New Jersey won $3 million 6 months after they won $1 million. Seriously. This couple from New Jersey, they had a scratch-off lottery ticket that was worth $3 million, and they won it 6 months after they won their $1 million prize. They're from Ocean County. They say the jackpot millions ticket was one of several games they bought from the Fisher Bay Exxon station in Ocean County. With our kids, they said we can't really get out of the house. So at the beginning of the month, we get some tickets. And when the kids go to bed, we scratch a few off. And we like to make it a competition. Who can win the most? It seems, they said, that we always at least break even. The husband said he realized he was scratching off a big winner before he handed it to his wife to check. I looked at it, he said, and held it to my chest and screamed. And the wife recalled 10 seconds later, she's laughing, and this is perfect. So the win comes again 6 months after they won $1 million from an ultimate spectacular ticket. The man said, I've always said you only need, this is the New Jersey lottery director. I've always said you only need one ticket to win big, but in this case, 2 tickets certainly didn't hurt. It's pure blind luck. This couple has 2 kids with a 3rd child on the way. They say the money will go toward taking good care of their growing family. So there you go. And apparently in New Jersey, you can stay secret because all it says on the check is winner with their faces hidden. There you go. That's how you do it, right? Have you seen this story about this woolly mammoth? It's hard to extract DNA sometimes from old fossils and remains, but scientists managed to do it, extracting viable RNA from the remains of this woolly mammoth. This woolly mammoth, the remains are pretty well preserved. It was found in Siberia and died about 40,000 years ago. Kept intact mostly because of the permafrost that preserved its remains, which also allowed scientists to extract a sample of the RNA. They say this is a juvenile woolly mammoth. They have published the findings on the RNA in the journal Cell. Stockholm University's research team says the successful removal of viable RNA samples is a scientific first. It shakes the previously held notion that RNA degrades too fast upon death for scientists to extract useful samples. They say RNA, according to the textbooks, is extremely unstable and basically degrades within minutes after being outside of a living cell. So it's amazingly surprising to find RNA that is 40,000 years old. No one thought it was possible. This is the molecule that converts genes into proteins, ribonucleic acid. And normally it degrades pretty fast. But in this case, the permafrost preserved it in this young woolly mammoth. The Russian scientists think it's a female woolly mammoth. They named it Yucca. They say it felt like a very high-risk project. Seemed like a completely crazy thing to try to do. This woolly mammoth had wound marks on its hindquarters, suggesting that lions living in caves attacked it while it was still living or tried to scavenge its remains. So they removed the RNA samples from this young mammoth and several others, 3 of which proved to be useful, including the samples from Yucca. They say you're actually seeing processes going on inside the cells right around the time this animal died. The processes have been frozen in time for 40,000 years. The scientists also identifying new types of microRNA, which control how information contained within the genes is used to create something more useful like protein. Why do all this? Well, the scientists say this will help them better understand the origins and history of RNA viruses like COVID, Ebola, and others. So there you go. Plus, it's just really cool that they managed to pull this off. I mean, come on. Here's another interesting story. Paleontologists have unearthed Australia's oldest known crocodile eggshells. They say the reptile's relatives may have hunted from trees. They were drop crocs that plunged onto prey. So interesting. Yeah. Drop crocs. You imagine? As if it's not bad enough that they lurk at the edge of lagoons, that be walking along and have one just jump on you like that? Drop crocs indeed. Well, we know a little bit more about drop crocs, more than we would have known before, because their eggs have been unearthed. And so now you can kind of see the evolution. Here's what they are. They're at the edge of this kind of small cliff. The paleontologists are digging the eggs up. Here's what it looks like. There they are, collecting. It's a big to-do over here. The fossilized eggs shells, they say, probably didn't belong to a drop croc, but an earlier relative. The fragments may have come from a species of Combara, an especially old species or genus of Mecusuchines. The Combara species could grow to more than 6 feet long and likely ate fish and soft-shell turtles. Researchers found the eggshells in the backyard of a rancher in the small Queensland, Australia town of Murgon. It's one of the oldest fossil sites in Australia. So they say the fragments are shedding light on the croc's reproduction, adaptation, and its environment as well. They say it's kind of a bit of a joke that they had drop crocs. They say that the reality is we actually had them. The ancient reptiles spent time in the trees, probably jumping on their prey. And these same weird crocodiles weren't behaving like normal crocodiles. They weren't sitting in the water. This to a study published November 11th in the Journal of Vertebrate Paleontology. They described the oldest known crocodile eggshells discovered in Australia that belong to this extinct group of crocs that inhabited the continent's inland waters 55 million years ago. Like a leopard croc jumping on top of you from the trees, not leaping up from river systems. So they know that, even though the eggshells that they uncovered here were not the drop crocs. The shell's microstructure indicates the crocs laid their eggs on the edge of the lake and that they were adapting their reproductive strategies to a changing environment. The remains also featuring a little evidence of bacterial degradation. So the nest may have gone through dry periods because of the heating and fleeting nature of forest-lined wetlands surrounding this town. They think they're talking about this temporary shallow freshwater lake in which these crocodiles lived in about once a year to participate in a big egg-laying festival. And they probably retreated after that back into the forest to gobble up animals that didn't expect to be eaten by crocodiles in the middle of the forest. These crocodiles may have lost the significant portion of their habitat to spreading dry land, forcing them to retreat to diminishing waterways where they had then to compete for food more fiercely. They say that it highlights that ancient crocodiles did a lot more than they do in modern ecosystems. The study is a window into the ecosystem of Australia tens of millions of years ago, back when the island continent was still attached to South America and Antarctica. Fascinating, I think. Let's move to Hide in Your Cave Monday. And for this, we go to Moose Cave in Maine. I love the name of this cave. Moose Cave Gorge. It is listed as one of the best things to do in Maine, to go check out the Moose Cave Gorge. It sure is cool looking. The Moose Cave is off of Highway 58 in Maine. It's an above ground cave in Maine that is supposed to be surreal. They say there's a lot of interesting features in the state of Maine, caverns, etc. But only in Maine are the caves in particular fun and above ground. Most of the caves in Maine are coastal, created over time by pounding surf, but there are some places like the Grafton Notch where this interesting cave can be experienced above ground. Moose Cave is named in honor of the poor unlucky moose who must have lost her footing and tumbled down into this cave. You have to walk through the wilderness to get to Moose Cave. It is inside of a 45-foot deep canyon, and the canyon is made of bedrock and water that runs along huge rocks, heading down to a cave underneath a giant slab of rock. I have a picture of it for you. You can kind of see. I mean, you think to yourself, do I want to go down into this, under this giant slab of rock? Lucky for you, you don't have to, because we're going there virtually today. You'll never have to make this choice. Yeah. You want to slide on down in there? I don't know. The area is full of plants and wildlife. Just beyond the cave, there's a really mossy garden area. There's a lot of people peering over the edge into the garden, but it is very, very slippery inside the cave. And you don't really want to fall into Moose Cave like the unlucky moose did. But you're not ensconced in an area, even once you get in here, where there's a ceiling, right? Where there's high ceilings. It's kind of open. Above ground, as they say. Here's a picture of the greenery inside Moose Cave. And there are pictures of people standing on the edge, peering down into this cavern. And they say you have to be really careful because the edge of Moose Cave is super, super slippery. I think it's pretty cool. And it's listed as one of the best things to do in Maine. It's in Grafton Notch State Park. And yeah, it's part of a mystery. It's a, by the way, a cavern formed by glacial activity is how this came to be. The cave features stunning rock formations and a cool, damp environment, a unique beauty, a mysterious atmosphere. Pretty cool. The cave walls are adorned with rock formations that tell a story of millions of years in the making. Even on the hottest days, the cave remains cool. And there are all kinds of legends associated with Moose Cave as well. Legends that speak of a moose that once roamed these parts, adding an air of mystery. The legend of the moose. Pretty fun. And just a short walk from Moose Cave is a really cool waterfall that we'll see on Wednesday. It's called Screw Auger Falls. It's apparently very mesmerizing. So that's all. I just wanted to take you down into Moose Cave for a little look into the cavern and what is down below. And that is Hide in Your Cave Monday. All right, everybody. I hope you have a great rest of your day. I will see you right back on this show. And that is tomorrow, and Mark Thompson's show at 11 a.m. And it's a David K. Johnston day. Jessica Denson stops by. Jefferson Graham will be on the show as well. So, oh, you want to buy a cave? Oh, that's fun. Mama says my mom used to tell me I would end up living in a cave when I was a teenager. Teenagers' rooms are rather cave-like, I will say that. All right, you guys, make it the best rest of your day. Thanks for hanging out with me for a little while here on the After Party Live, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
The After Party Live would like to thank the following contributors and viewers like you.
Safe travels, Phineas. Oh, cozy in there, I bet. Josh would like Yvonne would like Josh to find a cave with the room for all of us. Nice. Do we know where Phineas is going? I didn't see it. Safe travels. Be well. Mañana, iguana. Arizona.